Time now for the Coors Lite Louisville Basketball Postgame Show. Right here on ESPN Louisville. Cards basketball is also presented by U of L Health, making the impossible possible. That's the power of you. Kelly Jobs, the employment solution experts. KellyJobs.com. Bear Nose Pizza. Yeah, it's that good. Cox's Spirit Shop and Evergreen Liquors, Louisville's neighborhood liquor store. UPS Jobs. Apply today at upsjobsky.com. And Kroger, fresh for everyone. Now, here's your host, Ethan Moore.
Good evening and welcome into your Coors Light Louisville basketball postgame show. I'm Ethan Moore. The Cards fall yet again this season, 83-69 to Duke. Cards fall to 6-13 on the year, 1-7 in the ACC, and the losses are piling up, and it's almost hard to keep track of them yet again this year. More of the same. It wasn't quite a carbon copy of the Louisville, North Carolina game, but there were some similarities. Louisville got down big by as many as 18 points. They battled back to the same margin of 5, just kind of like they did at UNC. They were down to the Tar Heels by 20, cut it to 5 at 55-50. This game, they were down 18, cut it to 5, 58-53. But you know, if you watch the game from start to finish, I mean, Louisville, they played okay. But like I mentioned on Twitter a little bit ago, I am sick and tired of hearing about, well, they came back. They fought. It was a competitive game. This team showed some fight. I'm so over that. We are 19 games in. 8 games into the conference. I allowed that rationale, that reason to fly for the first 2 games of the year. UMBC and Chattanooga. Those were the first 2 games and the only 2 games where I would listen to. It was competitive. They played hard. They didn't quit. There's another one. They didn't quit. I'm sick of hearing about that. They lost again. Under KP, Louisville is 10-41. They are 3-25 in the ACC, not including 0-1 in the ACC tournament. And they, out of the 41 losses under Payne, 27 of them have come by double digits. I mean, when you say that out loud, like I wanted to throw up in my mouth. 10-41. Had a couple friends at the game tonight. They were texting me. A couple Duke fans in attendance, and they were like, this crowd is there's not very many people here. I'm like, well, this was one of the better crowds in the Kenny Payne era. What are you talking about? But this is where we are yet again. And it's so frustrating. From the rest of the way here on out, like, we're not going to be talking about how they played hard. We're not going to be giving them props for battling back from a deficit that you shouldn't have got in the first place. There was a couple of bright spots. I mean, Brandon Hunley-Hatfield, he balled out absolutely. Once again, his 5th double-double over his last 10 games. BHH, 37 minutes. Was 9 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from the foul line, grabbed 11 rebounds, including 4 offensive, and put up 20 points. So 20 and 11 is a great stat line, and he is your Juan Gomez Insurance Player of the Game. BHH, once again, posting yet another double-double. You had Mike James played okay. He did his thing from the foul line, going 6 of 8. Sky Clark played okay, 13 points. Tyler Johnson had a pretty solid game off the bench, 10 points, 6 of 6 from the foul line. Didn't have an assist. Excuse me, was really aggressive. Did have 4 fouls though, so you can find a couple of bright spots when you talk about, specific players. Let's give Zan Payne his props, huh? I mean, he had, again, it wasn't his fault that his dad started him against Wake Forest, and he played 17 minutes on Saturday. But you know what? He came in today, drew a couple of charges, got a steal, dove on the floor. So that was nice to see. I was glad, that he actually attempted a three. It was wide open. I was hoping that would go in for him. It kind of bounced around on the rim a couple times before it fell off. But you know what? Zan Payne is your BJ Heating and Cooling Defensive Player of the Game. Call the experts you can trust at bjheatcool.com. Also, BHH is 20-11. That is your Lanning Payne's points in the paint. Looks like Manny Core 4 will be potentially ready to go against Virginia on Saturday. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But this Virginia team is certainly beatable away from Charlottesville. They've only won one game. And the one lone ACC win on the road for them was at Georgia Tech. So, potentially, Louisville maybe could get a win. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but my wife's birthday is this weekend, and she wants to lust after Tony Bennett, so we're going to go to that game. I'm going to cheer on the Cards. Hopefully they win. But the countdown is on, ladies and gentlemen. How many more weeks of the season? 6, 7? I'm like you, the vast majority of you, I should say. The countdown is on for a coaching change 24 to 48 hours after whatever the loss occurs in the ACC tournament. We're ready to move on. This is obviously a failed experiment. Coach Payne has had his time. People say he needs to have time. You need to give him some time. Okay, well, he has this season. He has one more game and a couple more games in January. Then he has February and he has March. So anybody out there, talking about him needing some time, there's his time. And I think we all know where this is going. Again, before we open up the phone lines, 8150-93.9. Under Kenny Payne, Louisville basketball is 10-41, 3-25 in the ACC, and out of the 41 losses, 27 of them have come by double digits.
Ethan, I think we got to make it 6-41 because last year didn't count, so I think those wins should not count on his record.
Okay. Oh well, then I guess Spence is he setting the world on fire with 6-13 and 1-7 in the ACC? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And then again, it's the off the court stuff. It's just the odd press conference statements that he makes that it just makes things worse. Defense, again, I think Louisville was bailed out because Duke missed a lot of wide open shots from three. If you're going to run down the stats here, I mean, people were talking about there for a stretch maybe a couple of weeks ago, the defense is better. Well, I mean, is it the defense better or their opponents just missing open shots? That was the case for Duke today. Now, they shot a respectable 46%. But I tell you what, the Cards shot 46.2%, 24 of 52 from the field, where the Cards, the Blue Devils, 29 of 63. Duke shot at respectable 36% from three, 9 of 25. But if you watch the game, how many wide open threes did Duke miss? I mean, at least 10, right? I mean, and once again, Louisville gets caught on those high ball screens, those slip screens. If the Cards are playing a very good passing team, then from the perimeter defense perspective, it's a wrap. Because if a team can rotate the basketball quickly, like UNC did, like Wake Forest did, they put on a clinic. But even tonight, Duke was 9 of 25. Again, 36% is not bad. But, they got wide open looks time after time because on those picks, they're still not communicating. They're still not communicating. And Coach Payne, at his press conference, was talking about In order for us to close the gap, in order us to get over the hump, we've got to communicate better. And we've got, he's talking about things that you would talk about like in October, November. So, in his press conference, that is brought to you by U of L Health, making the impossible possible. That is the power of you. He was talking about doing the little things to get over the hump, but this is almost February. There's no more time to get over the hump. Like, you should have already done that in the non-conference schedule that ranked 313 in the KenPom. That was your time to get over the hump and to show some improvement. But alas, that is not the case here. So we can open up the phone lines here. 8150-93-9 is the number. Spence, who do we have up? Who do we have on the line first?
First up is Harold.
Harold, what's going on, man, from the West Coast? I see you.
What's up, Ethan? You doing all right?
More of the same. Yes, sir, man. More of the same, dude, isn't it?
More of the same. What I'm going to say is this team fought, right, and we still lost. This team got to the free throw line, and we still lost.
Mm-hmm.
What this team didn't really do, this team played somewhat better defense, somewhat. And I say somewhat because to start the game, they weren't. Like you said, there was a lot of wide-open threes that were missed. But then they also did do some good stuff to put some runs together, right? But here's the thing that really just, I guess you could say, sticks in my craw. How is it we go into the half down 18, go on some runs, get it down to 5 points, and then lose the game by 14? That's not progress to me. That's not progress at all. And so, I think that's the problem. We're on a treadmill. We're gerbils in a gerbil cage, and we're just running around that little hamster wheel. Like in your classroom. When you had your first classroom, you had that first class gerbil, and all the kids used to just watch it run around. That's Louisville basketball the past 2 seasons. We're on a hamster wheel, not going anywhere at all. But guess what? If you were to listen to the hamsters, they're going everywhere. If only the wheel would move to a half inch to the left or a half inch to the right, then the hamster would get exactly where it wants to be. And we're beyond that. Like you said, we are 100% beyond that. Either you're executing or you're not at this point. Either you get it or you don't at this point. Yeah. And it looks like we get certain things. I mean, like we get some ball movement, right? Like it's just really sad that the stuff some of the things that we want to be happy about now, A, aren't resulting in wins, and B, didn't happen when it could have resulted in wins. So, I'm going to go ahead and continue to cheer on. I'll find the positive. I'll enjoy the positive. But when the results are the same, it's hard to focus on the positive because at the end of the day, the results are the same. And it boils down to defense. Our defense, while they do some good stuff, is atrocious. They scored 45 points in the first half. 45 points. And we were missing free throws left and right. And you tell me that's the key, but we're not doing it. So, that it's just disappointing. It's disappointing to see the fight and still lose. It's disappointing to not see the keys happen and we lose. It's not about talent. It's about us not executing. So, y'all have a good night. Let's go Cards, and let's continue to do something, and hopefully we can catch Virginia. Maybe.
And this is it, Harold. Thanks for the phone call, man. If Louisville can't beat Virginia Saturday, I don't know when it's going to happen. I mean, Bob, at the end of the broadcast, he said it best. I mean, this is not one of Tony Bennett's better teams, especially away from their home arena. And they've been blown out. There's been at least 3 road losses where Virginia lost by 20-plus points. I mean, that's never happened in the last, I want to say, decade under Tony Bennett? That's already happened 3 times. Well, I'll take that back. I think one of the losses was by 19, so you can round up. But my point is there's been at least 3 losses away from Charlottesville where they've just been blown out. They've had a couple of questionable losses as well. They seem to be playing a little bit better still defensively. They get after you. Offensively, they're kind of boring. They do have, I think their starting five is pretty talented. But again, what's it matter? I mean, right? For the sake of the program, I still feel, and I've said this numerous times, that Louisville's going to win some more games this year. I don't see them going anywhere close to over for the rest of the year. I think they're going to win a few more games. Now, how many is that? 3 or 4? Probably. I mean, you do have Georgia Tech at home. You do have Notre Dame. And then there could be a game where they get hot like they did against Miami and win a game that they shouldn't to begin with. So, but regardless, I mean, like Harold said, we're just spinning our wheels. It doesn't really matter. You can project out to the schedule, but why, right? I mean, we're talking about how many more weeks in the season so we can find another new coach. And I want to get to a point where, after that, we can talk about the games. We can talk about – and you're more than welcome to still, if you want to break down tonight's game, as Louisville is a 83-69 loser to Duke tonight, feel free. But I think by and large, more people are focusing on who's the next coach going to be. I do think, and there was, of course, a lot of scuttlebutt over the Christmas holiday. The Coach Payne they were going to part ways. That obviously was not the case. And again, I think that Louisville is going to lose the vast majority of the rest of their games, but I think Payne's going to be there for the rest of the season. And then I'm fully expecting a coaching change to be announced, shortly after whenever we lose in the ACC tournament. And right now, our Louisville Cardinals, you guessed it, is a 15th seed. We'll be playing, if the tournament started tomorrow, they would be a 15th seed playing on Tuesday in the Day of Shame in the ACC tournament, again, under this coaching staff. So that is where we are, unfortunately. It's a sad state of affairs. But you know what, guys, we're going to get through this together. 8150-93.9 is the number. You're listening to the Coors Lite Louisville basketball postgame show. Loyal Lawrence is up next on the program. What's going on, boss?
What up, Ethan, man?
Rinse and repeat.
Ethan, it was a lot of things I said before the season started. And when Kenny Payne signed his class and got these transfers, I said, I just got to see what they do the first 13 games before they play Kentucky. And we saw what this team was made of in those first 13 games. Was I wrong about that?
Nope.
Now, tonight, and I also said this too, offensively, they're going to be there. But I got to see what they do defensively and what kind of fundamentals that the team's going to have. And tonight we saw them play decent enough defense. But how many times did Duke get second chances on the offensive end?
Oh,
every time it seemed like Louisville played at least good enough defense. It was always Duke players getting a second or third chance to get a shot up. And when they did miss the shot, they got to the foul line. Little things like that kind of piss me off.
I don't blame you.
If you're gonna go out there and play the way you're gonna play, and play probably C+ out defense, then rebound, do the fundamental things to help win the game.
Lawrence, I'm gonna make you even more mad here. Second chance points: Duke 21, Louisville 11, rebounding. This was the most dominant stat. Duke out-rebounded the Cars 43-28, including 15-7 on the offensive glass. To your point, yeah, bad business right there.
Like, I'm watching shots go up. I see Duke players all around the rim. I see one little player at the rim. That's Brandon. I'm like, what is White doing? What is Mike doing? What is those guys doing this living on perimeter right now?
Man, Lawrence, Mike how many threes did Mike give up especially in the first half. I mean, whatever type of defense they were in, he was the one that was not rotating quick enough and was not getting out to contest the jump shooters for Duke. He was getting torched with that ball reversal.
Are you also talking about how the guards are playing off on the Duke guard too?
Yep.
They playing 3 feet off of them. Like, why ain't you getting up on your man? Why ain't you being physical with your man? Like,
good question.
Of course, you're telling me you can't get past a pick and roll. You can't hard left on pick and roll, hard right on pick and roll. You're just gonna let the man wall you up. That's how they were getting wild from 3-pointers defense. And plus, you got like Brandon. Why would you let your small guard get outdone by a 6'9" guy? You're supposed to help out on defense. I don't know if Brandon's just trying to stay in the game because he don't want to get in foul trouble or what. And
Lawrence, I think that's a direct correlation to the lack of instruction and the lack of coaching going on from this staff. We are still clueless on the defensive side, whether it's in transition or whether it's in half court sets. There's no, and KP mentioned that in his post-game presser. He was talking about we have to learn how to communicate. Well, the next game you play is going to be the 20th game of the season. That should have already been taking place. Yeah, to your point, that's where we are, though, man. Like, we're making the same mistakes over and over again. I don't think the players know exactly what to do on defense because it looks that way. If they're not communicating, you're not rotating. How many times under Kenny Payne, coach basketball team, does a team just run a simple slip screen, and how many wide open dunks has this team given up over the past year and a half?
I don't know. I lost count when Duke had 7 dunks easily tonight.
Yep.
That's why Kenny should have got in the transfer portal and added some veteran guys to the team, because veterans understand how to play defense. Veterans understand how to communicate. But Kenny in his ego thinking he knows best, thinking he knows the right thing to do, not making no moves on their staff when everybody said you got to change your staff. He's saying I got the best staff in the country. Like, if you got the best staff in the country, why is this team sitting 13th right now? If you got the best staff in the country, why are you first in the press conference? This is year 1. I'm just trying to teach you guys what to do. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't see. It's just frustrating. Like,
it is.
I guess we got to deal with this to the last game where it's going to be the ACC tournament. Wherever it's a board, and we finally got board members finally sounding it off, finally getting frustrated like we are. Hopefully, something can be done before the ACC tournament, because something got to be done soon. I don't know what it is, but guys, you got to evaluate this situation better than you are right now, because us fans getting tired of this. I know the players are probably trying to fight to keep Kenny on this team, but come on, guys. If you really want to keep Kenny on the team, keep Kenny as your head coach. Should have won some games.
Yeah. I feel you, Lawrence, man. I sense the frustration in your voice, but you know what? We're going to be back, man. I appreciate the phone call. Louisville basketball will be back. I feel it in my soul. I'm speaking it into existence. We still have an extremely knowledgeable, passionate fan base. We are yearning for a winning program, and Louisville basketball will be back. This is not what we're going to have to get used to. Unfortunately, though, for the short term, we're just going to have to grind this bad boy out. 8150-939 is the number. Steve is up next on the Coors Lite Louisville basketball postgame show. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Ethan, appreciate the line, man. Let me get in here and vent and get some therapy. Nothing has really changed, and I hate being down and out, but here's the thing. This is the worst coached basketball team in the country. We have the worst college basketball coach in the history of the game. And I'll put that out there. If there's anybody left, the 4 supporters left out there, drive yourself nuts and dispute me. Give me the numbers. Call in and dispute it. He's the worst. He's the absolute worst. This team is, even on the offensive side, we keep saying they're better because it's a little more entertaining to watch now because the ball's going in. Nothing is fundamentally sound about this. The entry passes are garbage. The placement, their hands, their feet, nothing is coached properly. It's just not. And when you talk about we're a knowledgeable fan base, that just keeps getting chipped away. The more and more this is allowed to continue. And it's just, really, watch. You've said the eye test before, and he's the worst. And I've watched Clyde Drexler lean on the table for 40 minutes, and his team won more games. I watched Isaiah Thomas fall asleep on the bench, and he won more games. Kenny Payne is the worst coach in the history of college basketball. He is the worst hire in the history of college basketball. And I'm not somebody that was against it. I was super excited. I ate up every junk blogger, poster, anybody that had garbage information that all ended up being totally false about KP. But I ate it up. I was excited. And I even defended keeping him because I thought, be patient. Let's ride this out. Let's see what happens. Let's see what he does without the malcontents. I like these players. I like the core. I fear that we're not going to get to keep them, but, I do like the players. They're just put in horrible situations, absolutely horrible situations. And I don't trust Josh Hurd. I don't trust this president. I don't trust this board. I don't trust this administration. I don't trust people with money and with power because he's still here. You're not interested in this program getting better because you would have already started the clock.
So, Steve, what could the program do to regain your trust? Simply make that move, even if it comes at the end of the year. If they make a move, you'll have your trust restored?
Even then, I still don't. I don't know what he's going to do. What's he going to go get Villanova's guy that's also a loser? Who's got a 40% winning percentage? I mean, I don't know what he's going to do. And it's not fair to say that, well, Brom's Brom and he got Brom. I mean, that's, how horrible would a job would he be in right now if he had to go pick a football coach that wasn't Jeff Brom? Where would we be? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, that was kind of gifted. So, no.
Well, Steve, I would submit this, man. I think, and I'm with you too. I would prefer them make a move after we lost the team up the road again. But try to give the administration another, again, we'll have to grind this out together. But I do think at the end of the year, and we have a new coach in place, I think, and again, I don't have any insight on this, but I just feel it, that I feel like the vast majority of the fan base will have a collective sigh of relief, and then we'll also have a little bit of quiet confidence that this thing is going to get turned around a lot faster, and Louisville basketball is going to get back to what we know and love a lot faster than we think because it's so bad right now.
And that's another, I don't want to keep eating up time. I mean, that's another thing with, Kenny, man. Do you not know that you're the worst ever to do this?
And Steve, I just pulled up Clyde Drexler's numbers, man. I was like, no, I said maybe KP's better. You're right, man. Clyde Drexler was 19-39 at Houston. His first year, he was 10-17, and his last year, he was 9-22. So yes, overall, Clyde's winning percentage was .327. We are now under the 200s. With Kenny Payne being 10-41, so you're right.
And the Glide never left the scores table.
I know exactly what you're talking. Yeah.
He didn't even run his own timeouts. So it's just that part of it is so frustrating, is that the normalization of losing and the normalization and what's accepted. Like even tonight, there's a buzz. Oh man, they played hard. Oh, it's going out and riding that escalator. It wasn't as bad as it could be. Like it's slowly getting chipped away, and 6 more weeks of it. What's left? What's left is And then, like I said, what do we end up with when we strike out? What's the disaster when we strike out on the first 2 or 3 big names? And then
Steve, I don't think we will, man. I don't think we'll strike out. I mean, I don't think
I'm hoping Josh Hurd is playing 5D chess. I hope he's strategic. I hope he's got a board in some hidden room, someplace on campus where he's killing it. And I hope that that's what happens. So, man, I appreciate the line. Getting negative and getting all this off my chest.
You're not negative when you're speaking facts, man. Appreciate the phone call. Take it easy. I looked up Isaiah Thomas's. Steve brought up Clyde Drexler and Isaiah Thomas. And in 3 years, Thomas lasted 3 years at FIU. His first year, he went 7-25. His second year, 11-19, and then his third year, it was 8-21. So he was 26-65 overall in his horrendous 3-year campaign. But I still think, from a winning percentage perspective, those are still better than KP.
Like, where are we, Ethan? We're pining for, we want Isaiah Thomas or Clyde Drexler level of success here from head coach.
No, yeah. But, I looked it up because, people had said, he is the worst coach, the worst coaching hire, whatever. And then, you bring up 2 names, that were notoriously awful, and Kenny Payne's record is worse than those 2. So it's just, yikes. I mean, but I think that's where we are. And I think, Spence, to your point and what Steve was saying, people have come so desensitized to all the losing. Again, how many of us out here that are listening that are like, you know what, I don't even get mad anymore. I'm not even frustrated. Honestly, the most passion I got was I took Louisville team total over 67.5, and it looked in doubt for a minute, and I'm like, come on, y'all, let's score. I mean, that's the most kind of energetic, engaging part of the game. I was certainly, my interest was piqued when they cut the deficit to 5, but I also didn't have any thought that Louisville was gonna find a way to come back and win this game. I knew that I knew they weren't. And on the surface, that's terrible to say, but also it's not when you look at the evidence before us.
Oh, I can't. You can't tell me you watching that game if you have been watching this before. It's how are we going to blow this game? We were down 5. And it felt like it was a 2-point game, just given how this team always plays. Hell, maybe it felt like we had a lead because of how close that game was. But, yeah, to your point, never in doubt they were going to find a way to lose this game. That Miami game is such an anomaly that I don't know how we won still.
I mean, I think Louisville, there's 2 factors, honestly. Louisville, I don't know how many threes. I'm going to pull up that box score, man. Louisville was unconscious from 3, and then Miami was uncharacteristically cold. Because, again, like all of Louisville's opponents, and like we saw in the non-conference schedule, all of Louisville's opponents got wide-open threes. All of them. They just weren't good and didn't hit them. I mean, I remember Pepperdine. We blew them out, and still Pepperdine could have hit a fair amount of threes. That game, it wouldn't have mattered because Louisville, from an offensive standpoint, was just better, and they kept making plays. But I just remember, they had so many wide-open looks that just didn't go down. The same thing with UMBC. The same thing with Bellarmine. Those teams just weren't very good, and they didn't make their shots. And so when you're still having the same issues from a defensive standpoint, and here we are, game 20 upon us on Saturday, it's how can anybody feel like things would get better? But at this point, again, you're splitting hairs. Does it matter? What's better? In the vast majority, like, what's going to be better is a new coach sometime in, mid to late May. That's what will be better.
I'm excited to see, hopefully, the new coach, they have an actual defensive philosophy that we can tell. And maybe I don't want to see you necessarily have to overcorrect it, but go with the defensive-minded coach so that way when we know they're on defense, they're not going to give up these open threes. And if they do, their ass is on the bench.
Yes, right? I mean, if you're going to play more guys, you've been on the record of saying you trust everybody that has a jersey on. All right, well, for as gifted as Mike James is offensively, he had a horrendous defensive game today. I mean, again, I mentioned it to Harold or Lawrence. How many wide open threes did he give up with his lack of rotations and his lack of closing out? But it's not just him. We've seen that from this team under Kenny Payne. We saw that last year. We saw it this year. Like, how many times when you're going to try to close out, like, the person doesn't even have their hands up? I mean, that's elementary type of teaching, of instruction, defensive drills. Like, you're more effective defensively when you have a hand up. You're going to alter more shots. But our guys, if they're not late to rotation, sometimes if they're on time with rotations, their hands aren't up. It's just a mess. 8150-93.9 is the number. Andy, you're up next on the Coors Lite Louisville Basketball Postgame Show. What's going on?
Hey, guys, I appreciate y'all doing this. The last caller kind of helped me lead in. The Isaiah Thomas thing is hilarious because, that guy obviously didn't care. He had his head down during the game here, I believe, right? He did that here.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah. Yeah, Andy, we played FIU, and, Isaiah Thomas didn't get up off the bench.
I mean, Kenny Payne's trying, and he's got a worse record. I don't know. Maybe he'd be better if he just sat on the bench and put his head down.
Who knows?
Probably. Oh, that's a sad state of affairs. Well, listen, I always tune into the game still, and I'm one of those fans that still listen, and I still listen to you guys, obviously. And I think it's because I kind of want to feel this pain. No, a pun, no, it's not. He's not worth the pun. But I kind of want to feel this because I know it's not going to last forever. And once we get back to where we need to be, it's going to feel that much sweeter. Even on a trajectory to get back to where we need to be, it's going to feel sweet, watching the rise and watching the ride. So sometimes, it's always darkest before the dawn, I guess. But him talking about Josh Hurd and I was talking to my brother the other night, who's a diehard fan, and this thought occurred to me. I said, with all the NIL, maybe you can enlighten me at the end when I'm done here, but with the NIL, is that money just in a pool, or is it specifically directed towards certain athletes? I'm sure there's different ways to get it, and there's different things. What if Josh Hurd, Kenny Payne comes in and he says, I got Adidas and Nike both in my back pocket. I'm sure Adidas was really thrilled to hear that. I don't really need NIL. I look for character, and I want some blah blah blah. And Josh Hurd said, "Okay, well, shit, I don't know. Maybe he can do that. I don't know." So he goes on and he lets him do that. And Josh Hurd just pushes all that NIL to football. And Jeff Brom, say what you will, gift wrapped, whatever. But hey, if Tom Church was here, Jeff Brom would now be our coach right now. Let's face it.
Correct.
So Josh Hurd got him in, and maybe he saw the writing on the wall and said, pretty early, this Kenny Payne thing ain't going to work.
Yeah.
What's the best way to make that
you would think. Yeah, you would think,
football,
man.
Football drives the bus, right? So he can say, hey, Dad, I can put the basketball program on pause if I can get us in a 12-team playoff next year. That'll make up for that money. That'll make up for all those empty seats. And then we go out and we get ourselves a basketball coach, and we use that football money to boost up our basketball. I think he might be crazy like the Fox. He can't come out and say that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know how, and I have no idea how NIL works. I don't know if anybody really knows how it works. Can you enlighten me on that at all?
Yes. So my understanding is the 502 circle is basically kind of paired with the football program. Now there are options to earmark donations for specific things, but again, like you mentioned it too. I mean, Kenny Payne was slow to embrace fully NIL, and he was talking about, I want, I want high-character kids. I want kids that want to be here. Then we can talk about NIL. I'm like, no, Coach, that's not how that works.
I mean, but the university has to be getting more NIL than just from the 502 group. There has to be a lot of just individuals that can provide NIL, right? I mean, does it have to go through the 502?
I don't think so, but I'm not 100% certain as well. I know that the 502 is the main 502 circle is the main catalyst for football, but I think I mean if a fan wanted to make a random donation or earmark for a specific program, I don't know necessarily if it has to go through 502 circle. It might. I mean that legislation and the rules and regulations are changing seemingly like every month, so that could be the case. But yeah, I mean your point's valid. With the success of the football program, and I think part of Hurd's thinking is, we'll give him the rest of this year. Still there was still scuttlebutt that they would move on, after the after the annual loss to the team up the road. But I still think now if you're going to give him the rest of this year, then nobody can sit there and say he needs more time, because he was shown that he would have failed in 2 seasons back-to-back. And for anybody worried about him getting year 3, I've said this last week on the postgame and LSL, I'm sure, Louisville's not going to bring back a coach that would be responsible for back-to-back seasons that would be among 2 of the worst in the history of Louisville basketball's modern era. I mean, they just wouldn't. They're not going to be. He's not going to get brought back because they're that bad.
Unless he wanted to quit, and he's an implant, and the conspiracy theory goes a lot further than some people think it already is. But I think he has a lot more to lose by firing him now, especially from a PR standpoint and local ties and all that good stuff, than he does letting him. It doesn't change anything at the end of the day. We're not going to get to the tournament if David Padgett comes coaches, although I do think we would be better if they did a couple things. Got Lieberman and Padgett in there. I think I nobody could really do worse. I just don't think anybody really could. And I'm one of those people too. I felt like a hypocrite when Petrino came back because I wanted Petrino back. I kind of feel like a hypocrite when Mac came in. I thought Mac was a home run. I don't feel like a hypocrite. That just didn't work out. And Kenny is the same way. I think it's because we all wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing against
everybody went, Andy, when he was first hired, everybody wanted him to be successful because that would mean Louisville was successful.
Yeah.
But then some fans, as opposed to others, saw the red flags and was like, oof, okay. I mean, I don't know about you, but I saw that first game against Leanne Rhymes, and I was like, oh, man, this if this counted, this could be the worst loss in like 50, 60 years. I mean, it was that bad. And then, then here comes 0-9, Maui, you get blown out, and it's just like I was already off the Kenny Payne train, probably after that Maui trip or after we lost the 3 more games after Maui. Yeah, man, I was off. I was off.
Yeah, but I still wanted him. I still wanted to finish out his first year.
Yeah,
and I was surprised he was back, and that they didn't fire anybody on the staff. I was certainly surprised about that. But even then, I got excited about the recruits. I did. I mean, when we were hearing those
you're
names,
a fan. Yeah, you're
everybody
a fan,
was
man.
excited. Everybody, but they had high numbers and stuff too, right? So I mean, it wasn't like it was like these guys were worth getting excited about. There were, for a lot of them, there's a lot of schools after them, right? I'm not wrong about that.
Yeah.
And I really think Hurd was just like, you know what? I can get a home run of football. I can push all this through. I can hire Kenny Payne back, save it from a PR disaster, save it from having to go out and spend money on a new coach and buy him out, and I'll just keep this NIL money and push it to football, baby, and get it going. And we're going to sell out probably damn near every game next season. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So,
Andy, thanks for the phone call, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate your work, man. Go Cards.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, man, I just think, again, if you wanted the administration to make a move during the Christmas break, lost to the team up the road, I certainly get it. But I think now, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not some secret that he's going to be here for the remainder of the season, regardless of how many games they win or lose, then I think the hope is, at least for me, that the negotiated settlement is all but worked out, and then so you can part ways, because remember, it technically doesn't drop another $2 million until March 31st. Well, if you're wanting to really hit the ground running, which is something that this staff didn't do, then you're going to have to get a guy in place. You can, maybe not a couple days after you lose the ACC tournament, because let's be honest, we want our next coach to be in the NCAA tournament themselves, making a run in their conference tournament. So if that's the case, then we have to be a little bit more patient, because you want to get the right person. I'm hopeful that there's going to be, a variety of candidates that's vetted. We're not going to zero in on one person. I hope that we hear a bunch of names. I mean, and if you follow this coaching search, if you follow any, scuttlebutt tidbit of information, there's other names. There's been several names that have been out there. That's the fun part of it. That's the fun. You get to dream a little bit.
And hopefully this is the last coaching search that we to do for the next 20 years or so. Just put a number of years on it. Hopefully we don't have another coaching search for a long time, because I don't know about you, Ethan, but I do not like doing coaching search radio. It's just because that means the team is down, the team's terrible, and more often than not, like especially Louisville basketball, we're firing the coach. It's not like football where in the past those coaches were taking a job that was elevating their status, and it was like, okay, you have to take that job. So that's what I hope for this next coach. Is this a guy that I don't care what the age of the coach is, if it's a 50-year-old guy or if it's like a 34-year guy. As long as they can coach basketball and they can be here for the long-term future.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Let's get you caught up with today's top 25 scores. That is brought to you by the UPS Jobs Top 25 Scoreboard. Shift your future at UPS Jobs. Apply today at upsjobs.com. We have several top 25 games in action tonight and that have gone final. Creighton, number 17, the Blue Jays beat Xavier 85-78. Number 2, Purdue all over Michigan 82-52. Of course, number 12, Duke beats our Louisville Cardinals 83-69. Texas, Louisville opponent this past November, upset number 11 Oklahoma in Norman 75-60. Number 16 Dayton beats the Explorers of LaSalle 66-54. And currently in Provo, Utah, number 4 Houston leads number 21 BYU 66-60. So, it's your top 25 update there. One score, I don't know why it didn't come up, Spence. I could not forget about this. The number 6 ranked team, the school up the road, gets blasted by the South Carolina Gamecocks 79-62. Yikes. Absolutely love to see it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but my math says that 17 is more than 14.
So, actually, Louisville is the winner today in the state, is what you're saying.
Yeah, mark that down. January 23rd, Louisville won the state. This is where we are as a program. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I'll bask in a loss with the team up the road any day. Man, it wasn't even close. The Gamecocks. All right, they're 16-3 now. And Spence, that's Coach Lamont Paris. That's his second year at South Carolina.
Yeah,
he's got his squad at 16-3.
His first year they won 11 games, which that's more than Kenny's won in 2 years. But I just feel like it was kind of jokingly we were texting back and forth with this person, and they're like, Louisville should hire Lamont Paris. I was like, that just screams Billy Clyde, like for that move to Lexington, where it's like, oh, you beat Louisville, so let's hire you. But I mean, he's doing a great job at South Carolina. I hope he sticks out for a while there because he's got that program in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope that the next Louisville coach has to have NCAA tournament experience. And, yeah, I'm with you. Like 1 year of really good basketball. I mean, 16-3 at South Carolina. Of course, the Gamecocks came in at 15-3 before this win. They weren't even ranked at 15-3. So now they improved to 16-3, and the team up the road falls to 14-4. You absolutely hate to see it, tongue in cheek. Number 13, Wisconsin goes on the road and beats Minnesota 61-59, and that is your UPS Jobs Top 25 scoreboard. Shift your future at UPS Jobs. Apply today at upsjobs.com. There's also, Spence, a host of ACC basketball contests going on right now as well. So we'll get you caught up with that scoreboard and the standings. Right now, currently in Blacksburg, Boston College and Virginia Tech, the Hokies with a 5-point edge with 3 minutes and 49 seconds left to go, 68-63 there. Florida State, impressive road win at Syracuse. The Noles, 85-69, winners over the Orange. And Spence, I don't know if you heard this, man, but like on LSL a couple weeks ago, I made a proclamation that Louisville would beat Florida State at home on February 3rd, and then the Noles have now, I believe they've won like at least 6 out of the last 8, maybe 7 out of the last 9 games. So I don't know. I don't know if my prediction's going to come to fruition.
Yeah, so about Leonard Hamilton, he just does just enough to keep his job, because the last couple of years for Florida State, I know, has been really down, given success he's had at Florida State, but he's doing just enough to keep another year if he wants it.
Yeah, and he never ages.
That is true, too.
Pittsburgh, they beat Duke this past Saturday. They go on the road in Atlanta, take on Georgia Tech, beat the Yellow Jackets 72-64. Pitt improves to 12-7 on the year. Georgia Tech falls to 9-10. We're going to look at your ACC standings. Your ACC standings are brought to you by Kelly, the Employment Solution Experts. Visit kellyjobs.com. And Spence, I hate it, man. Just like last year, unfortunately, we know who's in dead last. I hate it, but that's them's is the cards. That is in the cards, unfortunately. Yet again, North Carolina leads the way, the only undefeated team in the ACC at 8-0. The aforementioned Seminoles of Florida State are an impressive 6-2. In the league, Duke improves to 5-2, as is in-state rival NC State. Wake Forest is 5-3. Virginia, Louisville's next opponent, is 4-3 and 13-5 overall. Syracuse is 4-4. Clemson, Miami, and Virginia Tech are all 3-5. Pitt is 3-5. Boston College and Notre Dame are 2-6 and 2-5, and Georgia Tech is 2-6. So, and Louisville's 1-7. You look at next to that, 125 winning percentage in conference play and a 316 winning percentage overall. Yikes. Louisville is just one of 3 teams in the ACC with losing records. Notre Dame is 7-11. Georgia Tech is 9-10, and Louisville, as we mentioned, losers of 4 straight are 6-13. Currently, they are 222 in the net. I don't know, Spencer, if you've handicapped the ACC, how many NCAA tournament teams do you think that this league gets this year?
Probably like 3. And I don't even know, like North Carolina, Duke, I think are given. And then I don't even know who else at this point. Like Florida State, they're good.
NC State, Wake Forest,
NC State,
maybe.
Wake. I mean, if Wake shoots like they did against Louisville, they'll be in the tournament. But it's UNC, Duke, and whoever wins the ACC tournament, if it's not those 2.
Yeah. You're right, man. I mean, Virginia, maybe. We'll take a look at that. UNC is 6th in the net. Duke is 19th. Florida State is 92. NC State is 79. Wake Forest is 44. UVA is 47. Syracuse is 68. Clemson is 33. Miami 64. Virginia Tech 51. That's odd enough because Louisville, right? They had to just break Miami's season.
Yeah, it's like
Canes,
Clemson last year.
Yeah, the Canes are just 3-4 in league play, 12-6 overall. They are 64th in the net. Now they're not even in the tournament. I mean, we were, and again, that was still a good win for Louisville. But we were saying, hey, you just beat an NCAA tournament team on the road. Now they're on the outside looking in. They have a lot of work to do. And then for Virginia on Saturday coming to town, if they want to make the NCAA tournament, like, you can't lose to Louisville.
Well, also, you said they have like 3 or 4 double-digit and maybe even 20-plus point losses on the road, and that's not going to get you in the tournament. Again, if you lose to Louisville, it's basically a death knell at that point, but they're on the outside looking in, I have to imagine, right now for Tony Bennett and company.
So right now, again, the Hoos, we'll go ahead and scout them briefly before we wrap up the show. They're 13-5. They did just pick up their first road win this past Saturday, beating Georgia Tech 75-66. They play NC State at home tomorrow night at 7. So here are their losses. On the road, they did beat West Virginia on the road, so they have 2 road wins. I was mistaken, 1 win in conference. So they lost at Memphis 77-54. They lost at Notre Dame 76-54. They lost at NC State 76-60, and then they lost at Wake Forest 66-47.
Yeah, losing to Louisville and Notre Dame the same year, like this year, because both those programs are down, not a good look. Like, that's what we knew last time around. They're going to beat Louisville because they just got blasted by Notre Dame. They're not going to lose 2 games in a row. And I think, what was it, like a 24-point loss 2 weeks ago? I think it's closer-ish, but it's not. It's rinse and repeat. Like, you lost by double digits to Virginia. I'm predicting that right now.
Ooh, okay. So not even taking. Would you take Louisville if the spread was similar to tonight?
Tonight was like 14. I would take Virginia.
Okay. We talked about that Texas game, and of course Louisville lost on that buzzer beater, 81-80. Looking at the box score, Spence, because there was something I remember. There was a glaring 3-point stat that I wanted to bring up. If I can find it. So Texas from 3, and Texas is usually a very good three-point shooting team. They went 2 of 17 from 3-point range. They got a lot of open looks that just didn't fall. Louisville, on the other hand, the Cards, we were a solid 7 of 16 from 3. That's what, alone, if you want to pinpoint stats, that was something that allowed them to stay in the game. To have a chance to win that one. And, of course, now, Spence, you talk about bad losses. Louisville, one of just 3 DePaul victims this year. They just recently fired their coach. The Blue Demons are winless and dead last in the Big East, 3-15 overall, 0-7 in Big East play. And that's one of your losses. I mean, you just can't lose to teams like a DePaul, Arkansas State. I mean, you get blown out very mediocre Virginia team, a mediocre NC State team. Pitt's playing well, but again, they're not even in the tournament either. So I think right now you're looking at 3 teams potentially, Duke, UNC, Clemson. But Clemson has some work to do as well because they're 3-4 in conference play. So
yeah, it's going to be a bit.
Down.
It's going to be a bit thief that just wins the conference tournament if it's not UNC and Duke. Like, if that's the final, then you may just only get 2 teams this year, which it sucks for this conference that this historically great brand might only get 2, maybe 3 teams in the tournament this year, and that's why I think it's paramount that Louisville nails this higher and gets right back to the pinnacle again.
Yeah, man, and make no mistake, if you hire the right person, Louisville can win and win right away. Now, what does that look like? I don't know. I mean, I'm always going to be of the mindset that Louisville needs to make the tournament. I mean, I'll never go away from that. I didn't when Mack was the hire. I didn't when Payne was the hire for at least his second year. And that's going to be the expectation going forward. And, again, the fan base is just yearning for some sort of success that we can latch on to. But that's not coming with this staff, and that's not coming anytime soon. It's going to have to come with a new coaching hire. We talked about NIL earlier in the show. You know, you want to get some infusion of NIL money, man. You get the right coach, and you can raise a lot of funds rather quickly, and we can get back to being nationally relevant because we've been down too long. But make no mistake, man, we're going to be back, and we're going to be back with a vengeance. That'll do it for us tonight. We appreciate everybody. Spence, there's nobody else on the line. I don't think there is. I don't want to cut anybody off if they're wanting to get at us. Phone lines are done now. So I want to thank everybody for staying up with us to, talk Louisville basketball. It's a bummer that once again we're talking about another loss, another double-digit loss, falling to 1-7 in ACC play. But brighter days are ahead. We're just going to have to grind this out together for the next several weeks. The better days are ahead. Make no mistake about it. I want to thank Spencer Brown for producing this effort, keeping us on the air. He will podcast this bad boy here shortly. I'm Ethan Moore. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And until next time, go Cards.